Hey everyone, welcome back to No Filter Frequency. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Crystal. And normally we'd be diving into some spicy gossip or the latest drama, but today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah, we got some really sad news yesterday. Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist and actor, passed away on March 19th after being hospitalized in Hawaii with a medical emergency. He was 86 years old.
Oh my God, I know. When I saw that headline, I literally had to read it 3 times because I couldn't believe it. Like, Chuck Norris doesn't die. Chuck Norris decides when death happens, you know?
Right? That's exactly what I thought. The Chuck Norris jokes made it feel like he was literally invincible. But seriously, this is a huge loss for the entertainment world and martial arts community.
Absolutely. So today we're going to take some time to talk about his incredible life and career because honestly, the man was a legend way before the internet turned him into a meme.
Totally. Let's start with his martial arts background, because that's really where it all began. Chuck wasn't just playing tough guys on screen. The man was legitimately one of the most skilled martial artists of all time.
Oh yeah, he had black belts in multiple disciplines. Like he wasn't messing around. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Tang Soo Do, Taekwondo.
Right, and he actually founded his own martial art called Chun Kuk Do, which was basically his way of combining all the different techniques he'd mastered over the years.
That's so cool. Like, imagine being so good at martial arts that you literally create your own style. That takes some serious dedication and skill.
And what's crazy is he was competing and winning karate championships before he even got into acting. He was undefeated for 6 straight years. Like, the guy was the real deal.
Undefeated for 6 years? Jesus, that's insane. And then Hollywood came calling, right? Wait, I want to back up and talk about his competitive career a bit more because it's actually insane when you really look at the numbers. Like, he wasn't just undefeated for 6 years, he was absolutely dominating.
Yeah, so his first big movie role was in The Wrecking Crew in 1968. But honestly, most people probably don't even remember that one. Oh yeah, like he won the professional middleweight karate champion title 6 consecutive times. And this was back when karate competitions were brutal, full contact, minimal protective gear. These guys were really trying to knock each other out.
Yeah, that was a Dean Martin movie, right? He was basically just a henchman in that one. But it's crazy to think that someone was watching that performance and thinking, this guy could be a star. No, definitely not. But then came The Way of the Dragon in 1972, and that's where things got really interesting. And I read that he was training like 6 hours a day during his competitive years. 6 hours! Like, that's a full-time job just staying in fighting shape. And he was running his own martial arts schools at the same time.
Oh my God, yes, that's the Bruce Lee movie where Chuck plays the villain. And can we talk about that fight scene in the Coliseum? That might be one of the most iconic martial arts fight scenes ever filmed.
Right. And some of his students became pretty famous. Steve McQueen trained under him. Bob Barker, yeah, the Price is Right guy, was one of his students. Even celebrities knew Chuck was the real deal when it came to martial arts instruction.
Right. And what's so cool about that is Bruce Lee specifically chose Chuck for that role because he knew Chuck could actually keep up with him in a fight scene. Like, Bruce Lee didn't just pick random actors. He wanted real martial artists. Exactly. And they were actually friends in real life, which makes that fight scene even more special. 2 legends going at it, but with respect and admiration for each other.
So then, in the late 70s, Chuck started getting his own starring roles. Breaker Breaker in 1977 and Good Guys Wear Black in 1978.
And you know what's really cool about that Coliseum fight? They choreographed it so that both fighters would show their different styles, Bruce's speed and agility versus Chuck's power and precision. It wasn't just random fighting, it was like a martial arts masterclass. Yeah, and those movies really established his screen persona, the quiet, tough guy who could kick ass when he needed to. He wasn't trying to be flashy or over the top like some action stars. He was just deadly calm.
I love that Bruce Lee insisted on authentic contact in their fight scenes. Like, they were actually hitting each other, carefully and with control, but really making contact. That's why the fight looks so real compared to a lot of other movies from that era.
And then we have to talk about Lone Wolf McQuade from 1983. That might be my personal favorite Chuck Norris movie. He plays this Texas Ranger who's basically a one-man army, and David Carradine is the villain.
Oh, totally. And then the Delta Force came out in 1986, and that was like peak Chuck Norris action movie madness. Him on a motorcycle with machine guns? Come on. Oh my God, that movie is so good. And there's that scene where they bury him alive in his truck and he just engines his way out of the grave. Like, who thinks of that? Only in a Chuck Norris movie could someone literally drive out of their own grave.
That movie is so ridiculous, and I love every minute of it. Like, it's completely over the top, but Chuck sells it with that dead serious expression. He never winks at the camera. He's committed to the bit 100%. And we can't forget the Missing in Action trilogy. Those Vietnam War movies were huge in the 80s. Chuck playing Colonel James Braddock going back to rescue POWs, pure 80s American action movie gold.
Yes, that's what made him so compelling. Other action stars might have played those roles with a smirk, but Chuck was stone faced serious about saving the world. And somehow that made it even more entertaining.
But honestly, as much as I love his movies, I think most people know Chuck Norris from Walker, Texas Ranger. That show ran from 1993 to 2001, and it was everywhere.
Oh my God, yes, 8 seasons. And it was syndicated forever, so you could always find it on some random channel at like 2 in the afternoon. My mom used to watch it religiously.
Same. And that show is where the Chuck Norris legend really solidified. Like, Cordell Walker didn't just fight crime, he roundhouse kicked crime in the face. Every episode ended with some bad guy getting absolutely destroyed by Chuck's fists or feet. But you know what made that show special? It wasn't just mindless action. Walker had this whole moral philosophy about justice and protecting the innocent. And Chuck brought his real-life values to that character. He was anti-drug, pro-family, believed in doing the right thing no matter what.
And the best part was how the show took itself completely seriously. Like, there would be these incredibly dramatic moments, and then Chuck would just appear out of nowhere and solve everything with violence. It was amazing. And can we talk about how diverse the supporting cast was? Like Clarence Gilliard Jr. as his partner, Trivet, Cherie J. Wilson as the prosecutor, Alex. The show actually had really strong representation, which was kind of ahead of its time for a Texas-based action show.
Right? And the thing is, Chuck could actually pull off the dramatic stuff too. He wasn't just a martial artist playing pretend, he could act. Walker had depth and moral complexity. He just happened to be able to kick through walls. Yeah, and the show tackled some serious issues too. I remember episodes about gang violence, domestic abuse, environmental crime. Walker wasn't just kicking bad guys. He was fighting for causes Chuck actually cared about in real life.
Totally. And can we talk about how that show influenced internet culture? Like, I'm pretty sure Walker Texas Ranger clips were some of the first viral videos before YouTube even existed. And Chuck did most of his own stunts on that show, even well into his 50s and 60s. Like, other actors his age were using stunt doubles for everything, but Chuck was still doing his own fight choreography and most of his own kicks and punches.
Oh, absolutely. And then when the Chuck Norris fact started going viral in the mid-2000s, it was like his legend reached a whole new level. Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the earth down, that kind of stuff.
Yes, and what I loved about Chuck's response to those memes was that he embraced them. He could have gotten offended or tried to distance himself, but instead, he leaned into it and even used them for charity work.
Yeah, he seemed like he had a great sense of humor about his own image. And he kept working too. He was in The Expendables 2 in 2012, which was so perfect because that movie was basically a celebration of 80s and 90s action stars.
Oh, that was such a fun movie. Seeing him alongside Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all those guys, it was like action movie fan service at its finest. And Chuck still looked like he could kick everyone's ass, even in his 70s.
You know, I think Chuck really paved the way for a lot of martial artists to transition into Hollywood. Before him, most action stars were just actors who learned some basic fight choreography. Chuck proved that real martial artists could carry movies and TV shows. That's the thing about Chuck. He aged gracefully, but never lost that aura of being someone you definitely didn't want to mess with. Like, even as an older man, you believed he could still throw down if he needed to.
Totally. Like, you can draw a direct line from Chuck to people like Jackie Chan getting Hollywood roles, or Jean-Claude Van Damme, or Steven Seagal. Chuck showed audiences would accept martial artists as leading men, not just as the villain or the sidekick. Absolutely. And you know what? Beyond all the movies and TV shows and memes, I think what I'll remember most about Chuck is that he represented this very specific type of American masculinity that feels kind of rare now.
And he was smart about building his brand, too. Chuck had his own line of martial arts equipment, wrote books about martial arts philosophy, even had a water company at one point. He understood that he was more than just an actor. He was a lifestyle brand.
Well, he was tough and could absolutely destroy you in a fight, but he wasn't mean-spirited or cruel about it. Walker was a good guy who used violence only when necessary to protect people. There was a moral code there, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. He wasn't a vigilante or an anti-hero. He was genuinely heroic, old-school heroic. Like he believed in justice and doing the right thing, and he had the skills to back it up.
Exactly. And in real life, from everything I've read about him, he was supposed to be a really decent guy. Family man, involved in charity work, mentored young martial artists. He lived up to the image.
Right, and that's actually pretty rare in Hollywood, isn't it? When the person lives up to the character they play on screen. Usually we find out our heroes are flawed or complicated, but Chuck seemed to actually be the good guy he portrayed on screen.
And speaking of his values, I think it's worth mentioning that Chuck was really involved in anti-drug campaigns and youth programs. Like, he genuinely cared about using his platform to help kids stay out of trouble. That wasn't just PR, that was who he was.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why his passing hits differently. Like, we're not just losing an actor or a martial artist, we're losing someone who represented something good and straightforward in a world that can feel pretty complicated.
Right. He founded the Kickstart Kids program, which taught martial arts to at-risk youth in Texas schools. And it wasn't just about fighting. It was about discipline, respect, self-confidence. He really believed martial arts could change kids' lives for the better.
Absolutely. And for those of us who grew up watching his movies and TV shows, Chuck Norris was always there, like he was this constant presence in action entertainment for decades. It's hard to imagine that era being completely over.
You know what I find really interesting about Chuck? He managed to stay relevant across like 5 different decades of entertainment, from the 70s martial arts movies through the 80s action boom, the 90s TV dominance, the 2000s internet meme culture, and even into the 2010s with Expendables. That's incredibly rare.
I know. And thinking about his family right now, he was married to Gina for over 20 years, and he had kids from previous relationships too. This has to be such a difficult time for all of them.
That's such a good point. Most action stars have maybe a decade where they're really hot, but Chuck kept reinventing himself. He went from being this serious martial artist to an action movie star to a TV icon to a living meme, and he embraced each phase.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to us, he was Chuck Norris the legend, but to them, he was just dad or husband or grandpa. The loss they're feeling is so much deeper than what we're experiencing as fans.
Absolutely. So we want to send our condolences to the entire Norris family during this really tough time. I can't imagine how hard this must be for them.
And to everyone listening who grew up watching Chuck Norris movies or Walker, Texas Ranger, we know this hits different. He was part of our childhoods, part of our pop culture DNA. It's okay to feel sad about losing someone who entertained us for so many years.
Yeah, and his legacy is going to live on. Those movies and TV shows aren't going anywhere, and neither are the memes. Chuck Norris facts are probably going to be floating around the internet forever. And honestly, I think he'd be okay with that.
I have to share this. My dad and I used to watch Walker reruns when I was in middle school. Like, that was our bonding time. Dad would come home from work, we'd have dinner, and then Walker, Texas Ranger was on at 8 p.m. It became this ritual for us.
Totally. He became this larger-than-life figure, and that's not something that just disappears. Chuck Norris the man may be gone, but Chuck Norris the legend, that's forever.
That's really sweet. For me, it was the movies. My older brother had all these Chuck Norris DVDs, and we'd have these marathon weekends watching Missing in Action, Lone Wolf McQuade, The Delta Force. I thought that was what being tough looked like. Quiet, confident, and absolutely lethal when necessary.
Well said. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up today's tribute episode. Thank you so much for listening to us talk about Chuck Norris and what he meant to all of us.
You know, before we go, I just want to say one more thing. In a world where celebrity deaths sometimes feel trivial or overblown, Chuck's passing feels genuinely significant. He was someone who earned respect through decades of hard work and authenticity.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe to the show. And hey, share this with someone who might need to hear some Chuck Norris appreciation right now.
Absolutely. He didn't just play heroes on screen, he was one in real life. And in an era where that kind of straightforward heroism can seem old-fashioned, Chuck proved it was timeless. Heroes never go out of style, they just become more rare and more precious. And leave us a comment. We want to know what your favorite Chuck Norris movie or TV show was. Was it Walker, Texas Ranger, The Delta Force, that epic fight with Bruce Lee? Tell us your Chuck Norris memories.
We'll be back next week with our regular format, probably diving into some celebrity drama or whatever controversy is trending. But today was for Chuck.
Rest in peace, Chuck Norris. Thanks for all the entertainment and for showing us what a real action hero looks like. Until next time, this is Crystal.
And Aaron, saying bye from No Filter Frequency. Take care, everyone.